Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're having a great Thursday. We're here, episode 6 of It's Real, our podcast. We're back here for this 6th episode. Really thankful. Hayden Bosich has been here with us for the last 3, episodes 4, 5, and 6. And Andrea, thank you so much. She's our anchor. Bill and Steve, the music men. We got a lyric to tie into today's topic. And the topic is social media. A blessing and also a curse. And so we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Just a few things, items. Remember, we are literally, days away from the Mindful Mug opening. Really, excited for Hunter Weiss and for the opportunities to build relationships here at church. And, you're going to be able to come in 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday, get a cup of coffee. Off the street. Sunday mornings, no worries, free drip coffee and donuts, right? But if you want that caramel macchiato, you may have to pay a couple bucks, but Hunter will take good care of you. So really looking forward to that.
Can I throw in a plug for Grit Deer out in Wintersville?
Yeah.
He's getting his new coffee shop open up there pretty soon too.
Is that across from Indian Creek High School?
Right across from Snyder's.
Okay, Snyder's, right there in that vicinity.
So a lot of paraphernalia, and his coffee is called, I can't think of it. Lock and Load.
Lock and Load coffee, there you go.
He's got different strengths and everything, so
Good. Awesome, very good guy out here and his family. So listen, social media is a blessing and a curse, right? We're going to go through all the positives, and then we're going to hit some of the negatives, and see if we can't condition and have a really good conversation, right? Real people, real issues, real conversation. Here we go. 10 minutes starts now. All right.
We do it again.
Oh, there we go. We don't want to pause time here. That's for sure. So. We're going to jump in. Positives of social media. I'm kind of a do-it-yourselfer. Love to work on, woodworking and epoxies and those sorts of things. And thank goodness for YouTube, right? For do-it-yourself kind of videos, people that are willing to teach you and to share, trade secrets. Hey, do this, but hey, be careful, don't do this. It really empowers us with a lot of information. Really good positive about social media that way.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think my biggest pro for it is like experts in given fields being able to communicate, their thoughts and opinions on certain topics. That you would never have access to. And I think also you can probably make this to a con too. But I think, that thing for me, and then also if you share an interest in a topic, you can find kind of like a niche area online of maybe it has to do with music or it might have to do with building cabinets. There might be a cabinet making side of TikTok or Instagram or whatever you get on. So, I think for finding those niche groups, it's really good too.
Yeah.
So I've lived in different states. So for me, a good side of having social media is to be able to be in contact with these people and family members that live on the opposite side of the country. Where maybe a phone conversation because of the time difference and that kind of thing isn't viable for me, but where a simple, I can see that they went to a concert last week and or somebody's birthday or those kind of things. I think that's a real good point.
Keeping those relationships intact, in touch, real time.
And for me, it's the same thing. Being raised in a military family, we traveled quite extensively, particularly in my high school years. And I made friends in many different places around the world. But what we would do back then is your dad would get transferred to another base and you would pick up and leave. And you'd leave all your friends behind. What social media has done, the positive thing for me is I've been able to reconnect with those individuals and reestablish relationships 30 years after. And that's to me, it's been a very positive experience.
Well, me, I got some kind of funny, but it's positive. One of my son's friends was telling his parents when he just had a baby, and he looked at his dad and said, "Dad, how did you guys do this without internet? You know, raise your kids up. How did you do this?" And his dad looked at him like, "You know, Pat, I don't know much."
You do with Polaroids. Yeah.
But it's a positive thing. It was a positive.
Hey, you know, I want to tell you, as far as like the church, I would have never believed in a million years what social media has done for mission and ministry, and kind of from a business perspective with, you know, even Dan, you know, this recording the podcast, being able to highlight sports online.
Yes.
You want to talk about a blessing. You know, if you can't make it to a game and you can always watch it online, it helps you be present. Whether you live here and your schedule doesn't permit, if you're living across the country, around the world, it's amazing how it brings people together. Any other positives you want to go before we kind of flip the switch a little bit and talk about some of the other sides of social media? I would have lost every bet here. We came through COVID, and thank goodness we had a head start on social media presence. And they were trying to get, you know, services online and then do some kind of relational content. We started out with a 360 on 4th. And I would go and walk up and down the street. And when all this was happening, I said, well, who's going to watch that? There'll only be 3 views. My wife, my mom, and maybe one of my sisters.
Yeah.
You know, who's going to watch this? But then you begin to see it grow. Kind of just like even our podcast here, right? Being in tune and in touch with people. Yeah. Any others?
It's worldwide though. I mean, I could be here and, you know, see somebody and talk to somebody in another
Another
Quite.
country. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
huge.
It's incredible. So, you know, with the blessing also comes also the side of, you know, social media. And, you know, it grieves my heart when I see statistics of, you know, kids that, you know, have maybe taken their own life as a result of bullying, you know what I mean, on social media, and how it sometimes desensitizes. And we've talked about this even in the last several episodes when we've been together about, you know, how, you know, maybe we need to take a minute and think before we post something or say something, because it really becomes really easy to write something nasty about somebody else when you don't have to look at them face to face and kind of hiding behind that platform of social media, but we don't realize what the depth of those words and how they really carry, and especially when it's magnified and it's triangulated and pit
Well,
on
and
that
then it turns
person.
into like a mob mentality too. Like if one person posts something and then everybody posts under it.
Well, and you feel important too. Like it's
Sure.
so easy.
Oh.
Like it's so easy to just like be hateful in a space where it's not face to face. And I think it gives you this like prideful, egoic validation
Yeah.
that just
Especially
really
when people join you.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and in those cases, it's life and death
Yeah.
in some cases, to where it just becomes so
It's bad.
filled with hate.
Yeah, I on that, not as strong a level, but
How many times my wife and I have been out, we've gone to different restaurants, different places, just not even around here, maybe someplace else. And usually 3/4 of the people who sit at the table are on this. And they're not talking. I remember one lady didn't have her phone out, and everybody else there was sitting there, and she's looking around like, somebody help me, you know, or whatever. You know, and that happens a lot, you know. And you wonder why your kids are doing it, here you are, you know. So that could be a big negative.
It robs us of our relationships.
Right.
How do we interact with people? You know, our people skills.
Exactly.
You know, and
I think it erodes our humanity.
Yeah, it's neat. Good.
I would say one thing that comes to mind with me is like the whole identity world and like obsession with this like certain persona people might put out on Instagram or Twitter or whatever it might be, is like there's the validation behind the likes and the comments. And I know particularly like in my age, this isn't a big thing, particularly like when I was in high school, it's like the amount of people who are just talking about like, oh, I got this amount of likes on my day, or I have this many followers, and it's like it's none of it's real. Like it's all just kind of made up in your head. This like identity you have about this social media presence. And then I think another thing too is like, you know, some people just like, it almost becomes like everything, quite literally everything you have to do. And this kind of goes back to what you were saying. It's like, it's almost like everything you do now has to have a camera behind it, right? You go to a concert, everyone's got the camera out, everyone's got to take a picture of the meal. And I'm not saying any of this, like the act is bad.
No.
I just think like sometimes when you look around, it's like every single like moment is, sometimes we're just sharing
You're only
every single
enjoying it
moment.
that
We're
way,
only,
not enjoying it.
yeah, we're not
as
enjoying it
well.
just being there. And again, I'm not denouncing that. I'm not saying you can't post that type of stuff. I'm just saying like I think sometimes it's easy to not have awareness around like actually being in the moment versus wanting to just have a little bit of
Hey, and when Bill and I went to concerts, you were not allowed to bring cameras.
Yeah,
Right.
you are.
So my cousin just went to a show to see Paul McCartney,
Mhm.
and they were not allowed to have phones. But because you weren't allowed to have phones and they wanted everyone to be in the moment and enjoy what was happening, they had their own camera people that took photos. And so it was still an awesome experience that they could still look back on a moment.
Yeah.
You know, not just in their heads, but if you need the physicality of a picture or whatever.
Hey, the Masters, right? Tournament, right? Just happened. No phones at Augusta
Mhm.
at all because they don't want to ruin the moment.
Mhm.
Other courses up and around Pittsburgh, really high end, Nevillewood, no phones because they don't want the distraction. They want when people come, to golf and to enjoy, to be in that moment. If you gotta take a call, there's a designated area away from everybody so that it preserves kind of the relationship and the love around the game. And here we are at 10, but kudos, right? We're going a little overtime here. Kudos to those, to spaces where they hold that sacred.
For sure.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good move. I mean, how many times you just see a kid going down the street, he got his buddies, we're gonna go knock this person over and see what happens. I mean, where does that come from?
Well, I think it comes in and tethers back to what, Hayden is saying is what will you do to garner a like
Right.
or to do something bombastic,
Yeah.
even that makes no sense or can be hurtful to somebody else,
Right.
but to draw attention, to get that little thumbs up at the bottom, to say, oh, did you see how many, views this had, or hey, this went viral, right?
One other thing, I think it also creates like mindlessness. Like if you're playing on your phone and not paying attention, I mean, how many accidents have like people falling at national parks or
Yeah.
at zoos or whatever,
Mhm.
golf tournament getting hit in the head or, different things happening now just because there is a constant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna tell you something. I have to watch every time I leave the church. I'm a creature of habit. So I go out here to the parking lot, I make a left on 4th Street, head north, go past the high school, through historic North 4th Street, go clear down to the stop sign at Franklin, make the right to get down on the 7th. And even when my light turns green that says I can turn left and head north on Route 7, I will not turn until I look both ways.
Right.
There have been so many people, whatever their distraction level is, just run through that red light even after it's been green for a solid, 4 or 5 seconds.
Right.
So that awareness is huge. I think, back into safety.
I think one thing too with like the mindlessness nature of it, I think you also can apply that concept to like when you get into the world of just continuously scrolling and continuously being plugged into content. There's also the side of misinformation that creeps into it too. So when you're kind of in that like very like low state of consciousness where you're just like pulled into whatever you're scrolling into, I think you become more susceptible to information that isn't true because you're not even like thinking when you're
Right.
consuming it. It's just this unconscious like bloop bloop bloop, and then you have this information right here, and you're not really thinking about like, okay, how much validity is there to this? So I think that's another aspect you gotta look at too.
So I think kind of like bringing this together and wrapping it up before we pull up here to the music is the scripture. So important, right? You know, we can find peace and enjoyment out of social media, the positive interactions, right? But just like anything in life, we've got to find the balance between them. And this scripture comes from John 16:33. Jesus says, I have said this to you so that in me you may have peace. In the world you face persecution, but take courage. I have conquered the world. And social media is a part of the world, just like going to the grocery store or the physical in-person activities that we do. We just have to be aware of where do we find that peace, and you know, and to be real. And I think that becomes the lead into the song today, isn't it? You know,
It is, Jason. We're going to talk about The Stranger by Billy Joel, and the lyric that resonated with me in this song, because what we're talking about is complicated. And I think Billy Joel captures the essence of what we've been describing in the song The Stranger. And it goes on, it goes by saying we all have a face that we hide away forever. And we take them out and show ourselves when everyone has gone. Now, garnering a like on social media, I would say typically is putting your best face forward. Not always, but typically. And the difference is in the lyric, when we show ourselves when everyone has gone, is that you're keeping something from other people that you don't want them to see, all for the sake of social media. And
Good point.
that's why I believe that those lyrics apply to what we've been talking about today.
And I think that it's true, right? Whether it's social media, whether it's real life, if it's in person, online, we've got to have a level of discernment. One, self-discernment in our walk with God to say, hey, how are we presenting ourselves? Are we presenting ourselves in a real, authentic, genuine way? Versus are we trying to pretend to be somebody else to seek some sort of approval, even when we're not being genuine to our values or ourselves, just to get that hit of esteem or approval from somebody else.
Mhm.
And I think it speaks to one of our earlier podcasts about getting the dopamine from that.
true. Any other closing thoughts on it? I love Billy Joel. What a musician. What a brain.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. What a brain. Yeah.
The piano man.
The piano man.
And he's out living in glass houses.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up. Okay. Episode 6. So glad that you joined us. Episode 7, be next week, Thursday at 3. So happy that you're on board. Remember, send us in your mugs. Okay. That we can use here. They'll be at the Mindful Mug. And remember, until next time, love God and love others.
Amen.